Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to very quickly back up a table in SQL Server. So if you're like me, you'll sometimes have to make some changes to a table. You might need to, for example, delete a row, insert some new data, or update a row or a number of rows. And before you do that, or like me, you might get a little bit nervous that you're going to make a mistake. Now there are things that you can do to prevent yourself or make it less likely that you'll make a mistake. For example, you can write your update statement in such a way that you can turn it into a select statement first, so you can just check to see what records you are going to affect by running the select statement. However, let's assume that you're ready to go ahead and make changes to your table. There's a quick way that you can go ahead and copy a table. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Technically speaking, it's not necessarily a backup per se, because a backup you'd normally take, for example, on another server and store it away in a location that it'll be safe. But this is just a way of copying a table very quickly before you make changes to it, just if you really want to be on the safe side. So let me show you how to do that. First thing I want to show you how to do, because I think it's relevant, is how to create a schema. So what we're going to do is we're going to write create schema, and I'm going to call it backup. Now, lots of people out there have different naming conventions for schemas. Some people prefer to use lowercase, some people prefer to use uppercase. Me personally, I think camel case, or Pascal case actually. In this instance, this is Pascal case because it starts with an uppercase. Okay, so in this instance, I like to go for Pascal case, and a combination of camel case and Pascal case, depending on what the actual object is. So I'm always going to go for Pascal case, which is uppercase basically for each new word within the name. So backup. Now, if you're not sure what a schema is, just think of a schema as a little bit like a folder for a file. So obviously with folders, you can put files into different folders to organize them how you see fit, and likewise, if need be, you can apply different permission settings to different folders. Okay, a schema is very much the same thing, but just for database objects. So for example, if we create a backup schema, we can put stored procedures in that schema, functions, views, tables, etc, etc, etc. And likewise, we can also apply different permissions and security settings on that schema to prevent certain people from viewing it, for instance. So just don't be too scared of the word schema. It's just a place where you can put database objects, in the same way that a folder is a place where you can put files. Okay, so what we're going to do, because as you can see, well, you might not be able to see because of the resolution, but essentially we've got the default schema, which happens to be DBO. Okay, and so that's where our table currently lives. We've got an employees table, all right, and that currently lives in the DBO schema. And what I want to do is I'm kind of creating a use case where I would need to update this table, but before I update it, just to be on the safe side, I want to create a quick copy, so a quick backup, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new schema called backup, and then we're going to copy this table, make a copy of that table, and put it into the backup schema. Okay, so let's go ahead and highlight this line, and then we're going to execute it. So click execute, or of course you can click F5 if you prefer shortcuts. So command completed successfully. Just for the sake of completeness, I'm going to show you how to delete the schema too. So you can delete a schema by typing drop schema and then put the name of the schema. Make sure you spell schema correctly, obviously. Highlight it, and let's just click execute, and the command executed successfully. Okay, so we now know how to create a schema and drop a schema, but actually what we want is we want it created. So let's run the create again, and we'll forget about that code because we no longer need it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to copy this employees table. So let's just run that SQL, click execute, and we can see we've got 40 rows. So for example, I might want to go ahead and make some changes to this data, and let's be fair, we've all been there, we've all made changes to a table and it's all gone completely skew with. We've completely ruined the data. So if you want to create a quick copy of that data before you make any changes, this is how you do it. So let's type select star into, and so this is where we put the name of the new table that we want to create. Okay, so obviously we've got our backup schema, so let's type backup and then dot, and this is where we put the name of the new table. Well, because we've got a new schema called backup, I'm just going to call the table the same thing. All right, so let's put employees. Again, there's a lot of debate about whether or not you should use plural or singular naming conventions for tables. I actually prefer singular. This is plural, but this is because I haven't sorted out this database just yet. It's just a mess about database for me, but I will be sorting it out. So let's do select start into backup.employees, and this is where we say where we want the data to come from. So we're going to say from, and I could type it, but I won't. So let's just copy this here. So dbo.employees. Okay, so let's have a little look. And it's worth noting that backup, right, is highlighted red because SQL Server can be a little bit lazy sometimes, and it hasn't acknowledged the fact that we have created a new schema called backup. But we can sort that. If you go ahead and let's see if I remember where it's stored. Edit, hover over IntelliSense, and let's click on refresh local cache. Now hopefully if I click on that button, backup will, and as it has, the red line will disappear from backup. Okay, there is actually a shortcut as well, but I'm not too great at remembering shortcuts, but let's have a look at the shortcut. The shortcut is Control-Shift-R. So if you can remember that, you're a better person than I am. Right, so let's go ahead and run this. So just before we run it, I just want to emphasize what it's doing. So we're saying select star, which means select everything, into, and this is the table we're going into, yeah, and this is where the data is coming from. All right, so for example, if I went to select star from, let's say from this new table, what it'll do is it'll probably say invalid object name. So in other words, that doesn't exist, right? So let's highlight this line, let's run it. 40 rows affected, which basically means we've copied 40 rows into this new table from this old table. And now if I highlight this line here, select star from backup.employees, let's run it. We've now got an exact copy of the table. Now how cool is that? Now if I go over to the left hand side here where there's tables, you probably can't see this too well because of the resolution, and unfortunately my screen recording software doesn't allow me to zoom in. But if I right click on tables and click refresh, what we should see, and hopefully you can see it here, there is a new object, and that object is called backup.employees. So now I could literally go ahead and delete the employees table, the DBO, because that's the default schema, right? .employees table. I could literally delete that or update some data, delete a few records, insert some data, and I've still got the original backup here. So it's just a little tip. I like to do this if I'm making changes to a live database. There are times, unfortunately, when you have to. But I always like to copy the table just before I make any changes, because worst case scenario, you've still got the original data. Now I hope you found that useful. If you did, go ahead and click that like button for me. It really helps the YouTube algorithm promote my videos, and likewise, if you want to see similar content to this in the future, why not consider subscribing if you haven't already. It'll make my day, and it really helps to support the channel. And with that said, take care everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.